Your goal is to do the least amount of events for the most amount of money.
Exactly.
And I say, like, do you know this $1,000 that you're charging for 100 people, 5 hours or whatever? You should be charging like at least $1,800, $1,900.
Right.
That one event, the profits that you're making, if you get somebody to pay $2,000 instead of $1,000, will take care of 10 of your $1,000 events.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think they just get like, oh,
So I can
interesting.
break it down for you. Like, let's get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah.
Right?
Uh-huh.
So we have our own little pricing sheet that we use. And I asked myself, if I have an event of a minimum of like 30 people, right? 10 to 30 people, what's the minimum amount I'm willing to do that event for, considering all my costs and time and stuff, right? And then you divide that, whatever that number is, and now you have a price per person.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So now I created a situation where I have a price from 10 to 30 guests, 30 to 50, 50 to 70, and then beyond that has to be a conversation with whoever I'm doing this event for.
Right.
And the pricing structure is higher per person at the lower end, right? So if you have 1 to
Makes
30
sense.
guests, it's higher per person.
Right.
But there should be a little bit of a price break, maybe $5 to $10 for each category.
Right. As it grows.
As it grows.
Right.
Okay. So I take that into consideration. Now I have my price point. So when someone reaches out and they tell me how many guests they're having, I know exactly how much I'm going to charge.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Then I make sure that I let them know that we bartend for a minimum of 3 hours. You can't contract me for less.
Right.
Anything over 3 hours, there's an extra $200 charge per hour.
Right.
Okay. Then I have to figure out how many cocktails am I going to make. Keep in mind that I send out a menu. This is what's available. You can choose 3 or 4.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
From that, when you're talking about private events, people will order an estimate of 3 cocktails per guest.
Yeah.
Okay. So some might drink less, some might drink more.
Right.
But the
It all
average
balances
is 3.
out around that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So now what I do is I take, let's say I'm contracted for 100 guests, right? I do 100 times 3 cocktails.
Right.
That's 300 cocktails I know I'm going to prep for.
Right.
I divide that 300 cocktails by however many cocktails they choose, 3 or 4. For simplicity, let's just say they chose 3.
Right.
I'm making
100
100 of each of those.
Right.
Now I created my own little Excel sheet, and it allows me to punch in my cocktail, the specs for that cocktail, and it tells me, I write, this is how many cocktails I need, and it'll tell me how many ounces, how many bottles of each ingredient I need. So now I'm not wasting anything. I know exactly how much to purchase, and I can take that into account as far as like, my costs on my end.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So every
feel like you're
single thing is
Tear up a
accounted
little bit. Yeah.
I'm glad I got glasses on because hopefully I'm hiding these tears behind this because
I just hear the
and it's there's a lot of similarities with how we do it, but there are some differences. But I think the commonalities are you have to be this granular about
Yeah.
it. And I don't think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
Like you have figured out what works for you and you've gotten down to the T. Okay, 3 cocktails per guest on average. I know there's gonna be a little bit more, drink less, but it works out for me. And then this is how I'm breaking it down. And yes, you're right. As the guest gets shorter, like the amount per guest is higher because there's a lot of fixed costs. You still got to bring the bar out. You still got to do all this stuff.
Yes.
So that gets spread out as it's more people. So it's like all of those things matter, and it's very interesting how people come up with their pricing and stuff. And so, I'm just very, very like impressed, how detailed you are because you're still running a business.
Yeah.
And now you got this where it gets even way crazier than
Oh, yeah.
or it can be, right?
Yeah.
So that's super interesting.